Hello, and welcome to Lyla's Lullabies, where we spend time exploring with Lyla, a traveler who wanders the world at her own pace, while sharing her most enriching and restorative moments with you. In tonight's story, we'll follow Lyla as she explores the charms of Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. There's nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to remember. Just settle in, get comfortable, and let yourself go. We're so glad you're here. Whenever you're ready, let's begin. The ferry from Fajardo pulled into San Juan Harbor in the soft light of mid-morning, and Lyla stood at the rail watching the old city emerge from the blue Caribbean. February in Puerto Rico meant perfect weather. Warm but not oppressive, the trade winds keeping everything fresh, the winter rains mostly past. The water in the harbor was a shade of turquoise that seemed almost artificial, so vivid it made her smile. Old San Juan rose directly from the waterfront, its buildings painted in every pastel imaginable: coral and lemon yellow, mint green and sky blue, peach and lavender. Red tile roofs covered them all, creating a pattern that stretched back from the water toward the fortress walls that had protected the city for centuries. Above everything, the massive stone walls of El Morro rose on the promontory, facing out to sea, standing guard as it had since the 16th century. The ferry docked smoothly, and Lyla gathered her small bag. She'd packed light as always: water bottle, sunscreen, a light scarf that could serve multiple purposes, her phone and wallet. She wore a sundress suitable for walking and dancing later, comfortable sandals, and a wide-brimmed hat to protect her from the Caribbean sun. Stepping off the ferry, the warmth embraced her immediately. Not the wet heat of summer, but a dry, pleasant warmth that felt more like a blessing than a burden. The air smelled of salt water and something sweet. Tropical flowers, she thought, though she couldn't identify which ones. The harbor area was busy with activity. Cruise ships docked nearby, smaller boats coming and going, workers moving cargo, tourists emerging from ships ready to explore. But there was a relaxed quality to the busyness, a sense that nothing needed to be rushed, that everything would happen in its own time. Lyla walked toward the entrance to Old San Juan, passing through one of the gates in the old wall. The transition was immediate and complete. On one side, the working harbor and modern port facilities. On the other side, cobblestone streets barely wide enough for cars, colonial buildings pressing close, balconies with wrought iron railings overhanging the narrow passages. The cobblestones were blue-gray, smooth and slightly uneven, made from adoquines, blocks that had been brought over as ballast in Spanish ships centuries ago. They made a distinctive sound when cars passed over them, a rhythmic rumbling that was part of Old San Juan's music. She walked uphill. The old city was built on rising ground, following the gentle incline toward where she knew El Morro would be, but she didn't rush toward it. Part of the pleasure of being here was simply wandering, seeing what revealed itself. The buildings were beautiful in their variety. Some were grand colonial mansions converted into museums or government buildings, their entrances marked by massive wooden doors studded with iron. Others were simple residential buildings, homes that had been occupied for generations, laundry hanging from balconies, potted plants arranged on windowsills. Every building seemed to be painted a different color, the pastels glowing in the sunlight. And everywhere, details caught her eye. Decorative tiles around doorways, carved wooden balconies, iron grills over windows worked into intricate patterns, painted murals on blank walls depicting scenes from Puerto Rican history and culture. She found a small plaza with a fountain at its center and stopped to rest for a moment. The fountain was simple but elegant, water splashing gently, the sound cooling in the heat. A few pigeons strutted around, and a cat lounged in the shade, its eyes half closed, utterly relaxed. An elderly woman sat on a bench, a fan in her hand, moving it slowly back and forth. She smiled at Lyla as she sat on another bench.
Hace calor, ¿verdad?
The woman said. Sí, pero es muy bonito, Lyla replied, grateful for the Spanish she'd learned and practiced over the years. The woman nodded approvingly. You speak Spanish, that's good. Many Boricuas speak English, but we appreciate the effort. Many visitors don't try. I do my best, Lyla said. Your city is beautiful. It is, the woman agreed. I've lived here 70 years and I never get tired of it. Every day something beautiful. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, sharing the shade, the sound of the fountain between them. Are you going to El Morro? The woman asked. Yes, I thought I would. Go in the afternoon, when the light is golden, that's when it's most beautiful. And stay for sunset. The view is spectacular. Thank you, I will, Lyla said. The woman stood, gathering her bag. Enjoy our island, she said, and walked away, her steps slow but steady, clearly heading somewhere she'd been 1,000 times before. Lyla remained on the bench a bit longer, feeling no rush. The plaza was peaceful, the fountain's music soothing. She could hear sounds from the surrounding streets. Someone practicing scales on a guitar, children's voices from a nearby school, the distant rumble of a car over cobblestones, a rooster crowing despite it being late morning. When she felt ready, she continued walking, making her way gradually toward the ocean side of the old city. The streets wound and curved, often ending in unexpected places. A small overlook with views of the bay, a hidden courtyard with a restaurant tucked inside, a gallery displaying work by local artists. She passed the cathedral, its pale facade elegant and restrained, its bells silent at this hour. The plaza in front of it was shaded by trees, offering relief from the sun. A few tourists were photographing the building, and a local man was selling coconuts, cutting them open with a machete and adding straws so people could drink the water. Lyla bought one, the transaction conducted in a mix of Spanish and gestures and smiles. The coconut water was cold and slightly sweet, refreshing in the heat. She drank it as she walked, the vendor having warned her to finish it before going too far. No waste the water, drink it all. And she did, the hydration exactly what she needed. She found herself on a street that led toward the water, and at the end of it she could see the ocean, vast and blue beyond the city walls. She followed the street to where it ended at the Paseo de la Princesa, a wide promenade that ran along the base of the old wall. The Paseo was beautiful, a broad pedestrian walkway shaded by trees with lampposts and benches, vendors selling local crafts and snacks, street performers entertaining small crowds. The old wall rose on one side, massive and impressive, and on the other the bay sparkled. She walked along the Paseo, enjoying the mix of locals and tourists, everyone moving at that Caribbean pace, unhurried and present. An artist was drawing portraits in charcoal, his subjects sitting patiently while he captured their likenesses. A woman sold jewelry she'd made from shells and sea glass. 3 young men played music, guitar, cuatro, and gyro, their rhythms infectious, distinctly Puerto Rican. The Paseo led to the Puerta de San Juan, one of the historic gates in the wall. The gate was painted a distinctive red, its massive wooden doors open, inviting passage. Lyla walked through it, feeling the thickness of the wall as she passed beneath it, the stone cool despite the warm day. Beyond the gate, the view opened dramatically. The water stretched away, impossibly blue, and in the distance she could see modern San Juan, the high-rises and hotels of Condado and Isla Verde. But here, standing at this gate, she was still in the old city, in a place that had looked essentially the same for centuries. She continued along the wall, following paths that led toward El Morro. The fortress was visible ahead, its golden stone walls rising from the headland, American and Puerto Rican flags flying from its ramparts. But it was still only late morning, and she remembered the old woman's advice, go in the afternoon when the light is golden. So instead of heading directly to El Morro, she wandered back into the streets, looking for somewhere to have lunch. She found a small restaurant on a quiet street, its entrance marked by nothing more than a chalkboard listing the day's specials. Inside, it was cool and dim, with just a handful of tables, ceiling fans turning slowly overhead. The walls were covered with old photographs of San Juan, the city in different eras, showing how much had changed and how much had stayed the same. A waiter appeared, middle-aged and friendly, with a genuine smile.
Bienvenida. ¿Mesa para una?
Sí, por favor. He showed her to a table by the window, where she could see the street outside, then brought her a menu and a glass of water with lime. The menu was traditional Puerto Rican food, and Lyla chose mofongo with shrimp, wanting to try the island's signature dish. While she waited, she sipped her water and watched the street. A few people passed, moving slowly in the midday heat. A dog trotted by, clearly knowing where it was going. 2 women stopped to chat in the shade, their conversation animated, full of laughter. The food arrived, and it was wonderful. The mofongo was a mound of mashed green plantains, with garlic, crispy on the outside, soft within, topped with large shrimp in a tomato-based sauce. It was rich and savory and satisfying, the kind of food that felt like home cooking, even though she was thousands of miles from home. She ate slowly, savoring every bite, occasionally pausing to drink her water or look out at the street. The restaurant filled up a bit as lunchtime progressed, locals coming in, clearly regulars who knew the staff by name. The atmosphere was warm and convivial, conversations flowing, plates being passed around for sharing, everyone seeming to know everyone else. After lunch, she ordered a café con leche, strong coffee with hot milk, sweet and energizing. The waiter brought it with a small piece of flan. Compliments of the house, he said. The flan was silky and rich, flavored with vanilla and caramel, a perfect end to the meal. She paid and stepped back out into the afternoon, the sun high and bright now. She made her way slowly toward El Morro, walking through more streets, seeing more of the city. Every corner seemed to offer something beautiful, a particularly stunning building, a courtyard visible through an open door, a mural depicting coqui frogs or tropical flowers. The path to El Morro led through a large grassy area, the campo that surrounded the fortress. The grass was vivid green, and people had spread out across it. Families with children flying kites, couples having picnics, groups playing music or throwing frisbees. The atmosphere was festive and relaxed, everyone enjoying the beautiful afternoon. Lyla walked across the campo toward the fortress, the ocean breeze strengthening as she approached the headland. Ahead, El Morro rose massive and imposing, its walls designed to withstand cannon fire, its position strategically perfect for defending the harbor entrance. She entered the fortress through the main gate, paying the small entrance fee. Inside, the fortress revealed its complexity. Multiple levels, tunnels and ramps, chambers and batteries, everything designed for warfare but beautiful in its way, the golden stone glowing in the afternoon light. She explored slowly, climbing ramps that led to higher levels, walking through rooms that had once housed soldiers, peering through gun ports that looked out over the ocean. Information plaques told the fortress's history, built over 2 centuries, expanded and modified, surviving multiple attacks, bearing witness to empires rising and falling. At the highest level, she emerged onto the ramparts, and the view took her breath away. The ocean stretched to the horizon, deep blue and vast. The coastline curved away in both directions. San Juan Harbor was visible to one side, the old city climbing away from the water, its colorful buildings like a painting. To the other side, the Atlantic crashed against rocks, wild and powerful. She walked along the ramparts, the wind, strong here, pulling at her hat, blowing her hair across her face. Other visitors were there too, everyone drawn by the view, by the sense of history, and the sheer beauty of the place. She found a spot on the wall and sat, her legs dangling over the inner courtyard far below, perfectly safe but feeling adventurous. The wind was constant but not unpleasant, carrying the scent of salt and seaweed, the sound of waves breaking against the rocks. She remained there for a long time, just watching and feeling. The ocean's movement was hypnotic, waves forming far out, rolling toward shore, breaking in white foam against the rocks. Seabirds rode the wind, barely moving their wings, masters of the air currents. The sun moved gradually lower, the light beginning its transformation from the bright white of midday toward the warmer tones of late afternoon. Other visitors came and went, but Lyla stayed, committed to seeing the sunset as the old woman had recommended. The fortress seemed to hold the light differently as the afternoon progressed, the stone taking on deeper gold and amber tones, the shadows becoming longer and more dramatic. People began gathering in larger numbers as sunset approached, everyone positioning themselves for the view. The campo behind the fortress filled with people, the grassy area becoming a viewing platform for the show about to begin. The sun lowered toward the horizon, and the colors began. First, a deepening of the blue, the sky becoming richer. Then the appearance of other colors, orange along the horizon, pink above it, purple in the higher reaches. The clouds, scattered and thin, caught the light and glowed. The ocean reflected everything, becoming a mirror of the sky, doubling the colors and the beauty. The waves turned gold, then orange, then pink as the sun continued its descent. Lyla watched it all, feeling grateful and peaceful. Around her, Others watched too, everyone quiet, united in appreciation. A few people took photos, but most just watched, understanding that some moments were better experienced directly than captured. The sun touched the horizon and began to sink below it, the colors intensifying to their peak. The whole sky blazed, orange and pink and purple, layers upon layers of color. Then, gradually, the colors softened, fading to pastels, the light becoming gentler. The sun disappeared completely, and the sky continued its transformation, moving through twilight toward night. The fortress's lights came on, illuminating the walls, and Old San Juan began to glow as streetlights and building lights created a different kind of beauty. Lyla stood and stretched, ready to leave El Morro, but carrying the sunset with her. She walked back across the campo, now dotted with groups settling in for the evening, people playing music, sharing food, enjoying the cooling temperature. Back in the streets of Old San Juan, evening had transformed everything. The buildings glowed in the street light, their colors muted but still present. Restaurants were opening for dinner, their doors wide, music spilling out onto the cobblestones. People were out strolling, dressed for the evening, the atmosphere festive and alive. Lyla had planned to visit a salsa club she'd read about, a place where locals went to dance, where the music was authentic and the atmosphere welcoming. She had the address and made her way there, walking through streets that were busier now, full of evening energy. She found the club on a side street, its entrance modest, marked only by a small sign and the music that pulsed from inside. She paid the cover charge and walked in. The space was medium-sized, with a polished wooden dance floor at the center, tables around the edges, a bar along one wall, and a stage where a live band was playing. The music was immediate and enveloping, percussion driving the rhythm, piano and horns creating melody, a singer calling out lyrics about love and dancing and life. The dance floor was full, couples moving in that distinctive salsa rhythm, intricate footwork and spins, the lead and follow communication happening through subtle signals, bodies in perfect sync. Everyone seemed to know what they were doing, moving with confidence and joy. Lyla found a spot at the bar and ordered a mojito, the bartender mixing it fresh, muddling mint and lime with sugar, adding rum and soda water, serving it in a tall glass with more mint on top. She sipped it, cold and refreshing, sweet and tart at once, and watched the dancers. The energy in the room was wonderful. Everyone was there to dance and enjoy the music, but there was no pretension, no sense of performance beyond the pleasure of moving to the rhythm. Older couples danced with decades of practice, their movements economical and perfect. Younger dancers brought energy and improvisation, trying new moves, laughing when they didn't quite work. A man approached Lyla, perhaps in his 50s, with kind eyes and a genuine smile.
¿Bailas?
Lyla hesitated only a moment. She knew basic salsa, had taken classes years ago, but she wasn't expert. Still, the invitation was kind, the music irresistible. Sí, pero no muy bien, she warned in Spanish. He smiled and said,
Aprendemos juntos.
She took his hand, and he led her to the floor. The band was playing a mid-tempo song, perfect for finding the rhythm. He was a good lead, clear in his signals, patient with her hesitations. They danced through the song, and she felt herself relaxing into it, letting the music guide her, trusting him to lead her through the steps. When the song ended, he thanked her and led her back to the edge of the floor.
Bailas bien. Fue un placer.
He said with a wink. She returned to her spot at the bar, her heart rate elevated, smiling. The experience had been joyful, exactly what she'd hoped for. A moment of connection through music and movement, a small participation in Puerto Rican culture. She ordered another mojito and settled in to watch more, content to observe now that she'd experienced the dancing firsthand. The band was excellent, their musicianship obvious, their enjoyment of playing equally clear. The percussionist was particularly impressive, his hands moving in a blur across the congas and timbales, creating complex polyrhythms that drove the music forward. Between songs, people chatted and laughed, the atmosphere convivial and warm. The band took a break, and recorded music played, a mix of salsa and other Latin styles, merengue, bachata, reggaeton. The dance floor stayed full, people adapting to each rhythm, the energy never flagging. Lyla found herself talking with a woman at the bar, a local who came here regularly. They chatted about San Juan, about the music, about the island's recovery from recent hurricanes, about the resilience of the Puerto Rican people. "We love our music," the woman said. "It's how we celebrate, how we process difficult things, how we stay connected to each other and our culture. You can't understand Puerto Rico without understanding the music." The band returned for another set, and the energy in the room elevated again. More people had arrived, the club fuller now, the dance floor crowded, but everyone making it work, dancers adjusting and accommodating, creating space for each other. Lyla danced a few more times, different partners each time, each dance its own small story, a brief collaboration between strangers united by rhythm and the rules of lead and follow. Some partners were more skilled, some less, but all of them were kind, all of them there for the pure joy of dancing. As the evening progressed, she felt deeply happy. Not the surface happiness of entertainment, but something deeper. The joy of participation, of being welcomed into a cultural practice, of moving her body to beautiful music in a room full of people doing the same thing. All of them connected by the shared experience. The club would go late into the night, she knew, but she didn't need to stay for all of it. She'd experienced what she came for, the music, the dancing, the warmth of the community, the festive spirit that was so much a part of Puerto Rican culture. She finished her drink and made her way to the door, pausing to thank the band during their break. "Gracias por la música hermosa," she said, and they smiled and nodded, clearly pleased. Outside, the night was warm, the air still carrying the day's heat but made pleasant by the breeze. Old San Juan at night was magical, the buildings softly lit, the cobblestones gleaming, music drifting from various restaurants and bars, people strolling, the whole city relaxed and alive. She walked slowly back toward the harbor, where she'd catch the last ferry back to Fajardo. The streets were busy but not crowded, everyone moving at that same unhurried pace, savoring the evening. She passed through the Puerta de San Juan again, the red gate now illuminated, dramatic against the dark sky. On the Paseo, a few vendors were still set up, selling glow sticks and light-up toys to children. A guitarist played for the people sitting on benches, his music gentle and romantic. Songs about the island and the sea. The harbor was quieter than earlier, most of the cruise ships having departed, but still beautiful, the water reflecting the lights from the shore, boats bobbing gently at their moorings. She found the ferry terminal and checked the schedule. She had time before the next departure. She sat on a bench facing the water, letting the day settle, reviewing everything she'd experienced. The morning arrival with the view of the colorful city, the wandering through cobblestone streets, the conversation with the old woman in the plaza, the delicious mofongo, the majesty of El Morro, the spectacular sunset, the joy of dancing to live salsa music. Each moment had been rich, full of sensation and connection. San Juan had welcomed her, had shared its beauty and culture, had invited her to participate and not just observe. She felt grateful for the openness, for the warmth of the people, for the music that seemed to be the island's heartbeat. The ferry arrived and she boarded, climbing to the upper deck as she had that morning. The boat pulled away from the dock, and Old San Juan began to recede, its lights growing smaller, the buildings becoming a golden glow against the dark sky. She watched until the city was just a presence on the horizon, then turned to face forward, toward where they were heading. The Caribbean night was clear, stars visible despite the ferry's lights, the constellations different from what she was used to seeing at home. Other passengers were quiet, most of them tired from their own days of exploration. A few people dozed, others looked at their phones, some gazed out at the water as she did. The ferry cut through the calm sea, its wake spreading behind it, phosphorescence occasionally visible in the disturbed water. The rhythm of the engines was steady and soothing, a bass line beneath the sound of water and wind. Lyla felt peaceful, content, already looking forward to whatever tomorrow would bring, but not in a way that diminished the present moment. She was here, now, on this ferry, on this sea, under these stars, carrying the day's gifts with her, the colors of the sunset, the rhythm of the salsa, the taste of mojito and mofongo, the feeling of dancing, the warmth of strangers. The island receded further behind them, but its spirit stayed with her. That combination of beauty and resilience, celebration and history, the way music and dance wove through everything, the way people opened their hearts and their culture to visitors, inviting them to join, to participate, to experience the joy that was so much a part of Puerto Rican life. The night was gentle, the sea calm, the ferry steady. Lyla wrapped a light blanket around her shoulders and leaned back in her seat, comfortable and at peace, grateful for San Juan and all it had offered, carrying the memory of music and sunset, of dancing and ocean views, of a day that had been both festive and calm, energetic and peaceful, a perfect balance that felt like the island itself.